Welcome to Smart Remarks, where you're all a bunch of moochers! Unless, of course, you're conservative, in which case you deserve your Medicare, Social Security, and all your other government swag. So for whatever reason, I keep getting added to these right-wing email lists. You've probably seen them where these wingers forward you everything that comes down the pike. God knows why. It's probably because they think if they keep bombarding me with this stuff, I'll turn around and all of a sudden I'll become outraged too. And the theme of this stuff in recent months has really begun to focus on the freeloading poor, the undeserving poor, people who won't work. It seems like every other conservative out there has been in line at the grocery store behind some undeserving welfare mom who's using her access card to pay for lottery tickets and cigarettes and Cheetos for the kids. This has long been sort of a staple of conservative discourse, this resentment of the poor, but it really seems to have been kicked up a few notches this year. It's because it's an election year, but really more and more conservatives seem to think that this is a growing problem. They seem to think there are increasing numbers of moochers landing on the public support rolls, and of course they want something done about it because this is all because of Obama's socialism and the fact that the welfare state, in their mind, encourages dependency. Now, let's say up front that I, in fact, know a few people who abuse the system, if you want to put it that way, and I bet you do too. I used to play music with a guy who was too disabled to work, but he wasn't so disabled that he couldn't carry an 80-pound amplifier up a couple flights of steps every now and then. I know a woman who's on disability. She can't work. Actually, she could work. She just couldn't do her previous job. But instead of getting a job, she takes the 60% of what she used to make and travels. It must be a nice life. I wish I could live it sometimes. But, is this epidemic, is this a huge problem? Is it more of a problem now than it's ever been? Because conservatives would have you believe this. And even though we are seeing record number of people on the unemployment rolls, and particularly taking food stamps, is this because we have so many more moochers in this country? Or is it a function of the fact that the economy stinks? Conservatives, what you have to understand about conservatives is they're all the star in their own little morality play. They're all the virtuous, hardworking, salt of the earth Americans who are being fleeced by those people over there. And of course, they want to cut those people off. To the extent that they support a welfare system or a social safety net, they want one that gives money and gives support to the deserving poor who use it to get back on their feet, and they want to cut off the undeserving poor. My question is, how are you going to separate the wheat from the chaff? How do you create a system that actually does this? Because let's say some undeserving, lazy person who won't work has kids. What are we going to do about that? Are we still going to try to ensure that the kids are able to eat and have some sort of support? Doesn't a just society do that? But see, these conversations never quite get that far into the weeds because it's all black and white. It's all moral or immoral. You know how conservatives work. But the reality is that in real life, it's a lot more complicated than this. There is a moral argument for the social safety net, but there's also a pragmatic argument. The pragmatic argument is this: if you provide support for the poor, be they deserving or undeserving, you have a more stable society, which is to say that if you have something, you're less likely to try and come and get what I've got. If all of a sudden we begin kicking people into the street because they're undeserving or for whatever other reason, you're going to have more despair in this society. Despair is apt to turn to anger, anger to action. We're talking unrest. We're talking that we're courting civil disobedience and civil unrest. Good thing we've militarized our local police departments, don't you think? The reality is that the perfect moral system that the right would like to construct is probably impossible. When it comes to the social safety net, we're painting with the broad brush, and so the choice is this: a system that punishes and penalizes the undeserving and courts civil unrest, or a system that, in fact, tolerates a certain amount of abuse, yet still delivers a payback beyond what it costs. I'll take the latter. Thank you very much.